welcome to the Blood Angels Commander channel.
Hello, brothers. I don't say friends. Guess you guys are friends. How you guys doing tonight? Can you hear me all right? I don't have a red skirt, and it's called a kilt. But yeah, I've got a green one. Good evening, loud and clear, Mike. How you doing? XO7, what is happening? Pana, good evening. Killer, Andrew, Julio, Dark Ginger. A lot of people here. Nice to see you guys. I'm gonna get into some army lists. I was gonna say I haven't had that many submissions the last couple of weeks for army lists. So I was looking through, and I've got 4 army lists for tonight. I think I get 2 submissions on the channel, so that gives me 2 for next week. Are people not really building army lists at the moment? Are people not people are all doing the same thing in Hearts of Omen? I don't really know. I've found a list that I'm enjoying, and I'm sticking with it. So, but if anyone's got any army lists they want to submit, now would be the time. Sometimes on this show, the queue time can be as long as like 4 or 6 weeks to get your army list in front of me. So at the moment, the queue time is like one. I mean, you submit a list today, you'll probably be on next week. I can't review Dark Angels army lists. I mean, 1, they're traitors, and 2, I know nothing about them. Yeah, we don't do heretics on this channel, I'm afraid, Rez. Haha. Anyway, if there's any Blood Angels questions, as always, just fire them into chat. I'll try and keep up with chat. If it's something in chat that's super important and I don't see it, remember, members, only 30% traitors? Yeah, maybe. Members of the channel, so anyone in a sexy green name can do a membership message for free. Remember, you can click the little plus button. You can do a membership message. So please do that if there's something that's desperate. Okay, first list of tonight. It is submitted by Lunda. And he said congrats. I think he's probably saying congrats. This might have been a few weeks ago for me getting Best Sportsman. So this is a Blood Angels army, and it's an Arts of Omen detachment, and it has 2 units that use no force organization. They are a chapter champion with the 3 damage Blade of Triumph and Martial Exemplar, meaning that he is providing rerolls to all core units within 6, maybe characters as well, or maybe just core. I don't remember. Usually I take Icon of the Angel, but Martial Exemplar is fine, I feel like. Martial Exemplar is core and characters. Okay. Icon of the Angel is better, but I mean, if you've got the Blade of Triumph, you're already using his relic slot, so that's fine. And you've got company veterans with a boatload of Lightning Claws and Storm Shields and Thunderhammers. Unfortunately, these guys are kind of expensive, aren't they? Didn't get the free war gear that the other guys get. Double Lightning Claw. I feel like if you need to save points, you could probably go Lightning Claw and Chainsword. That's also decent. I guess if you need to save points, maybe you could do, like, if you want to get a couple more Storm Shields in there, you could do a couple of Lightning Claw and Chainsword, Lightning Claw and Storm Shields. It depends. Alright, let's see how you use the veterans as we go through. We've got Captain on the Bike with Gift of Foresight and Selfless Valor and Angel's Artifice. If you don't have Armor Indomitus in this list... Do you have Armor Indomitus? If you don't have Armor Indomitus, I always think Armor Indomitus is better than Angel's Artifice. Angel's Artifice gives you a 2-up save, +1 wound, +1 toughness. Armor Indomitus gives you a 2-up save, +1 wound. Rather than +1 toughness, you get 1 phase, or 1 time per game you can activate a 3-up invulnerable save for that phase, be it the shooting phase, be it the combat phase, whatever. I think a Bike Captain on toughness 5 gets very little advantage from toughness 6. Angel's Artifice, I think, on a jump captain who's on toughness 4 does get an advantage, right? But like toughness 5 to 6, I feel like is a smaller step from 4 to 5. Be it that like if you're getting hit, for example, with strength 7 or strength 8, then there's no difference between being toughness 5 and toughness 6. So I would rather just have that one phase of the 3-up invulnerable save. You got Gift of Foresight, so when you turn on that 3-up invulnerable save, you can get 2 rerolls. So you're saving on 3s. Gift of Foresight gives you 1 free save, and you can also spend a CP for another save. So basically, you're saving on 3-up invulnerable save for 1 phase, and you can get 2 rerolls on those saving throws. I think that's way stronger than the toughness 6 over the toughness 5. I guess chat can debate that, but that's my opinion on it. What else you got on here? There's 3 CP. Oh, he's got Selfless Valor, so he's got the 6-inch heroic intervention. Cool. Okay. I mean, I like Rights of War on that character. I like Soul Warden. I prefer both of them to Selfless Valor, but I understand why you would take Selfless Valor. The Geese, good afternoon. How you doing? You got double Infiltrator squad. You got another squad of company veterans, this time all Lightning Claws, and that's what you said. So you've got a company champion, 2 squads of Lightning Claw veterans, Death Company with hammers ×2. And while I love Death Company with hammers, I do think into World Eaters, these are going to be difficult to get the most value out of. If the World Eaters have all their shit inside rhinos, you need stuff that can blow up the rhinos first, and then get the squishy innards. I guess you could argue that your Infernal Pistol Sandguard could do that. So you got 2 squads of Infernal Pistol Sandguard. Don't Blood Angels get +1 attack and -1 AP from turn 3 with Assault Doctrine? They do indeed. They get the +1 attack every time they're charged or are charged, but then in turn 3 they get basically +2 attacks every time they're charged or are charged, because they get the one from Shock Assault and they also get one from Savage Echoes. You've got Terminator squad with 5 Terminators here. Actually, sorry, this is 6 Terminators. Strange point cost, actually. You got 5 with Chainswords and 1 with Stormbolter, and then you get the Sergeant with the Cyclone Missile Launcher. I thought the Sergeant needed to have a power sword. Okay, is this 6 No, this is 7 Terminators. This is a Sergeant who's got the power sword, the Stormbolter, 5 guys with Chain Fist and the Stormbolter, and then the one with the Chain Fist, Cyclone Missile Launcher, and the Stormbolter. Cool. Okay. Don't Death Company get 3 extra attacks on turn 3? They do if they're charged. Sorry, do if they charge, not if they're... Remember, the +1 that the Death Company get is only from charging, not being charged. So Death Company can get +3 if they're in Assault Doctrine when they charge, but they only get +2 if they are charged. So this is 7 Assault Terminators. Interesting choice. You know you can get a free Oh, you've got the Teleport Homer, okay. Yeah, interesting choice of number of Terminators. You then have, I guess, 3 squads of 2 Assault Cannon Multi-Melt Land Speeders and a Drop Pod. Note there are 99 wounds in non-vehicle and non-characters. Okay, so you're giving up 11 for no prisoners. Interesting list. 6 Land Speeders, 10 Sanguinary Guard, 10 Death Company, 7 Terminators, 9 Veterans and the Champion, and then the Captain on the bike, and then the Infiltrators. So, the interesting thing about a list like this, I guess, and you're using 5 CP before you start, yeah, so you've got 1 CP. My thought with this list is that, like, it can be quite difficult to do. I was going to say, you've got no priest, so there's no real way to do Assault Doctrine in turn 1 and 2. So you're really going to put a lot of, you're going to put a lot of eggs onto these Land Speeders. Like, these Land Speeders need to do a lot of work for you. It is 6 multi-meltas, it is 6 Assault Cannons, so it is a decent amount of firepower. Not much survivability in Land Speeders, though. you've got a good amount of infernal pistols, you've got a good amount of 3 damage weapons, and that you've got like 7 chain fists, 10 thunder hammers, a bunch of multi meltas. You got 1 thunder hammer on the veterans. You got the 3 damage company veteran there. I think a list like this can get a lot out of Rites of War, honestly. Like, everything in your army can benefit from Rites of War except your land speeders. So for me personally, I would run Rites of War over Selfless Valor. You got to remember, a bike captain's reasonably decent. Like, the base size is reasonably decent. So, clever positioning on him can be fine for heroics. Yeah, there's some turns you're not going to get heroic to be able to heroic, but I think Rites of War might be a better option. Isn't Angel's Artifice restricted to chapter champions? No, it's restricted to chapter masters. It's totally valid to have Angel's Artifice on here. I just think Armor Indomitus is the better play here. We only got 4 likes on the stream so far, guys. So please hit the like button before you leave the stream, or please hit the like button at some point if you enjoyed today's stream. Yeah, I would run Armor Indomitus 100% over this character. I'd probably run Rites of War, but that's my personal opinion. I think Rites of War wins games. I really think OBSEC is really important. The more tournaments you go to, the higher level players you play against, the more you will realise that, like, if you come up against those OBSEC armies, be it like Knights, be it like Necrons, who else can do OBSEC shenanigans? Sisters. There's a lot of armies that can do OBSEC shenanigans. If you don't have it, you'll lose games and points just by not having it. And yeah, some games it doesn't do anything, but I mean, you could argue some games Selfless Valor won't do anything, right? I like that you've got Terminators. I do like Terminators. I do think they're survivable. Land Speeders for me right now, I mean, I like the new points costs of them. I just don't have any experience playing them. I don't see them get played for Blood Angels all that much. I mean, we see them in like Ravenwing, and we see them in I was going to say, I don't know who else we see them run. I mean, we see some people run them, but I don't have barely any experience in running more than 1 or 2 land speeders. I don't know how you would really use them. I imagine whenever they get targeted, they just die, right? Like, a tornado has, what, like 7 wounds, toughness 6, 3 up save. So probably most of the time, in the meta where we are, where there's just like an infinite amount of multi-meltas running around. Because that's what it feels like, right? These things die to like 1 or 2 multi-melta shots, probably. Toughness 6, 6 wounds, yeah. I don't dislike land speeders. I don't dislike that you've got them in squads of 2. I would definitely put them in squads of 2 over squads of 6. Sorry, squads of 3. Some people swear by Vision of Death. I don't run it. Alunda says he doesn't have the speeders yet. You're trying to find a good shooting platform. I think if you're wanting, I mean, you could run this. I mean, arguably the 2 land speeder tornadoes are going to cost pretty much the same as like an Armiger, like a Helvern. So I guess the question is, what's better? A Helvern or 2 land speeder tornadoes? That's a tough question, actually. I feel like I lean towards the Armigers there, just because of range and invulnerable saves and toughness and wounds. But yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really weigh in on land speeder tornadoes, because the most land speeders I've ever run in an event, I think, is 1. I mean, I ran attack bikes, but that's because the priest can res them. I never really ran multiple land speeders. Land speeder tornadoes are very good value right now, but you're talking in Raven Wing. Yeah, I think I like. Because in Ravenwing, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you move them, you can get a 4-up invulnerable save. So I think if Blood Angels had a 4-up invulnerable save on their Lance Speeders, I think they're brilliant. If they don't have that, then I think they're very easy to be picked off. I don't mind them. I think probably because I mean I ran the land speeder that had the multi melta for like 60 or 70 points. So getting a free assault cannon on there seems nice. It gives you a little bit of flexibility in that you've got some anti-vehicle shooting, you've got some anti-infantry shooting. I just don't think. I just don't think it's going to be that strong. I guess. I think they're weak. I think they die pretty quick when focused. Maybe they're a trading unit for you. Maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like if I'm running dreadnoughts, which are arguably more survivable, more toughness, -1 damage, I want Psychic Fortress on them. So I think without Psychic Fortress on them, if they move, they get a 5-up invuln, and if they advance, they get 4-up invulns, but they can advance and shoot. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Rez. So that makes them like way stronger. Yeah, so I think that like a land speeder tornado versus an armiger. So it'd be like 2 multi-meltas and 2 assault cannons versus a Helverin. What do you think in chat? I'm just gonna ask chat because I don't know. What's better? Chat decides. 2 land speeder tornadoes. 1 times Helverin armiger. And we could make the armiger like Hunter of Beasts, right? Which means when you're shooting the armiger, you would get to hit. Got it. If I can spell armiger, that is. Helverin doesn't have a double L. Of course it doesn't. Helverin. When you're shooting the armiger, if you make it a Hunter of Beasts, then you hit on 2s, right? Against vehicles and monsters. Okay. Armigers don't do much damage. Well, we'll see what chat says. The vote is running. Helverin's profile. The Helverin is 3-up. Move 12. 12 wounds, toughness 7. It gets 2 armiger autocannons. So basically, heavy 4d3 total. Right? So on average, you get 8 shots at 60 inches. Strength 7 -2, 3 damage. And it, like I said, if you give it Hunter of Beasts, which I think is the best trait to give the armigers, then you hit vehicles and monsters on 2s. You get +1 to your hit roll. They also have Ion Shields, which is a 5-up invuln against range attacks. Remember, 12 wounds, toughness 7. And they also count as OBSEC for 5 models. So if the enemy gets a single, or I guess if the enemy gets 4 OBSEC models on your objective that your armiger's on, you don't give a shit because you've got 4 OBSEC models. The armigers are slightly more expensive. 15 points more expensive. You also get like a stubber on the armiger. You can go either way. You can have a -4 stubber, or you can have a 0 damage stubber. And I guess you can. I think you can replace the stubber. No, you can add the metal gun for 5 points. I think the metal gun is optional. But maybe you have to. Maybe you have to. Do you have to take the metal gun? I feel like it was optional. I've never run Helverins, but maybe it's optional. But okay, chat thinks that you're right. 15 votes in chat. You can give them you can also do there is a strat that lets you bring in your armigers in turn 1 from reserve, which is pretty cool actually. But we've seen a few people do really well. Didn't Sam just win a tournament with armigers, Helverin armigers in his list? I think he did. I think he ran 2 of them. So I think that's a possibility. Apart from that, I mean, the rest of the list is fine. If you need to cut some points, I would put some. Oh, 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, and if you need to cut some points, you could always do Sterngard squad, right? The cool thing about the Sterngard at the moment is you can get like 2 multi-meltas, 3 combi meltas or combi plasmas, and a power fist or something into the squad for free. I never actually checked. I assume Sterngard, it costs Sterngard 10 points to take a Thunderhammer. Is that why I didn't run them? Sterngard. I think lots of marine stuff costs 10 points for a Thunderhammer. But 2 multi-meltas in the Sterngard for 0 points is pretty nice, if it ever loads. Anyway, okay. So people think that the 2 tornadoes are stronger than the Hellverns. My opinion is if it was me, I would run the Hellverns. I think I prefer them. The advantage to the tornadoes, though, I suppose, is that they actually do score you like Blood Angel secondaries or Space Marine secondaries, whereas Hellverns don't. One Armiger backed up by 2 Ball Predators might go hard, so that it could. I was going to say, do you know what? I'd forgotten about Ball Predators, but I think if it was up to me, if 2 of these are the same cost as a Gladiator Reaper, I think I prefer a Reaper. I mean, they're 10 points cheaper, I get that. But I think I'd rather pay the 10 points and get the Gladiator Reaper. Sterngard must cost 10 points to get a melee weapon, does it? Heavy weapon, pistol. Oh no, it doesn't. You can't take a Thunderhammer. Okay. So there's a few things you could swap out here. You could put some Sterngard in your drop pod to add some firepower. You could swap these out for Hellverns. I think the thing that stands out to me the most is I don't like these 2 warlord traits. I think, or these warlord traits. I like Rights of War and I like Armor and Dominus. But overall, I think it's a good list, Alunda. You got any other questions? The Reaper bounces on Terminators. I mean, the Reaper doesn't bounce on that much. I suppose it's different in my list because I get to reroll all my ones with the Reaper's hit rolls. So yeah, maybe. I mean, the thing about the Gladiator though is just reserve the Gladiator, right? So it gets its alpha strike against the potential that you want it to do. I mean, I just played Imperial Guard where they had all the firepower under the sun and my Reaper didn't die, so I think as long as you reserve the Reaper, I don't think it'll sit and duck. Cool, next list. Green Mr. Frog is up next. I don't know if I've ever met Green Mr. Frog. I don't think I've seen him in chat, but nonetheless, we have Green Mr. Frogs. Yeah. That's the only other thing that I think is difficult to know what's right at the moment, Alunda, is if you're playing World Eaters, I think you want a Death Company squad with Infernal Pistols and Swords, because if they've got all their World Eaters in transports, all the Berserkers in transports like Rhinos, I think there was a guy at the tournament I went to had 3 Rhinos with 10 Berserkers in each of them in his 5-man squads. Death Company with hammers can't do shit against that, right? Like, well, you can kill a Rhino, but how does that help you? You kill the Rhino that costs 100 points, and then they eat up your Death Company. They're going to eat up your Death Company anyway. What you need to be able to do is blow up the Rhino with Infernal Pistols and then charge what's inside. Keep a record of what your tornadoes kill. Yeah, do that, and then message us and let us know how you got on with them. I'm interested to know. I don't know if 6 tornadoes is viable. I mean, it sounds cool. I just think personally I probably prefer the Helverins. Because the Helverins will sit back, they'll guarantee shooting, whereas the tornadoes are probably going to have to go into like dangerous zones because they have less range, and then they're probably going to get picked off pretty quickly. I mean, I played against Dark Angels. Yeah, I played against Dark Angels, right? And like Reziel just said that their bikes, if they move, have a 5 up, and if they advance, they have a 4 up. I think in turn 1, I killed 6 attack bikes and like 3 speeders. Like I killed all his fast attack in like turn 1. So my question is like, those are obviously a lot more durable. If they can all get killed in turn 1, then and that's with a 4 up invuln. I think he advanced everything. I think everything advanced. So if you're playing an enemy that has enough firepower to kill all those speeders in one turn, where are you going to go from that? Okay, Green Mr. Frog. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on my list. I'm not that experienced. I'm not a competitive player. Currently, only I play against friends. My opponents are therefore Astra Militarum, Necrom, Wolves, and Custodes. The Terminators in one squad of Sanguinary Guard, starting high in the skies, and the Blade Guard starting the Impulsor. Okay, nice and simple. What about the Storm Speeder Thunderstrike? I bought one of those Storm Speeders, Jack, because I think people wanted to see it. I think the thing that puts me off the Storm Speeder is it's only 10 wounds and it gets profiled. They're still kind of pricey. Like I think if you want to take land speeders, I would take land speeders over the storm speeder. Like I'd take 2 land speeders over the storm speeder. I mean, I own a storm speeder. I spent the money on the storm speeder. I know it's 5 more points to take 2 land speeders, but for me, it's just I hate D6 damage. So I don't like the Thunder Strike, even though it's got better ballistic skill. The one that I would more likely to take, I think, is the Hammer Strike, which has got like the rockets and the meltas on it. Yeah, this is the one I'd be most likely to take, I feel like. But I feel like the second it goes down to 5 wounds, which can happen from like a single missile to it or something, then suddenly your shooting reliability just goes out the window, I guess. And it's slower than land speeders, and I think you get more if you're doing something like relentless assault or behind enemy lines or anything like that. It's going to be more beneficial to you to have multiple models as well. So I bought this hammer strike thing, but I don't know how viable it is. Does any like do I was going to say, do Ravenwing run hammer strikes? Is that a thing, or thunder strikes? I don't know. Okay, so Mr. Green Frog, what we got? We've got Gilliman, the Supreme Commander. I like it already. So we've got Gilliman, we've got a captain on a bike with a combi melter, Quake Bolts, Rites of War. He's copied my captain. We've got Librarian with Veil of Time, Null Zone, and Psychic Fortress. Okay. Cool. He is also the Psychic Master, which means his casting is more reliable. He also has an Infernal Pistol. I suppose the Infernal Pistol makes sense based on the fact that he'd be using Null Zone. So cool. We've got 2 squads of Infiltrators with Helix Gauntlets. We've got 5 Blade Guard. He didn't put any of the points on here, which is really annoying. It's 5 Blade Guard. It's 5 Death Company, 4 Hammers. It's 5 Death Company with Infernals and Power Swords. It's 5 Sanguinary Guard with swords and pistols. It's 5 more with swords and pistols. It's Terminators. 3 with Thunderhammer, 2 with Lightning Claw, which is kind of what I've said for a while is good. He's also Mastercrafted the Sergeant. I actually really liked the Mastercrafted Sergeant with Lightning Claw in the recent event I played. I think that's really good at killing 2 wound infantry models. But this is fine as well. I mean, I think the game before the event, my Mastercrafted Thunderhammer killed a Dreadnought in 1 round of combat because it's 3 damage even after the -1, so that's good too. It's Assault Squad with an Infernal Pistol, Thunderhammer, Eviscerator, and a couple of Plasma Pistols. I think it's important to remember that I believe this Assault Squad Sergeant can take a combat shield for free, which gives him +1 save and a 5-up infun, which you should definitely take because it's free. And then it's a Whirlwind. He's put the Hunter Killer Missile in the Whirlwind. If there's a better way to spend 5 points, I'd find elsewhere. But where else you could spend those 5 points? And then you've got the Impulsor. So you've got the Terminators in Deep Strike, 2 Death Company on the board, 2 Sanguinary Guard on the board, the Assault Marines on the board. You could probably put one more of them into Deep Strike, to be honest. The Impulsor with the Blade Guard, the Infiltrators, Guilliman, and Captain on the Bike and a Librarian with Null Zone. Yeah, I would definitely, because Guilliman's giving you +2 to charge if you arrive within 12 inches of him, I would definitely feel like it's worthwhile, I think, putting someone else into Strategic Reserve, be it a Death Company, be it a Sanguinary Guard. Probably the most sense here it would be a Sanguinary Guard squad. Your Quake Bolts are obviously going to help your Thunderhammers out, which is nice. You've got a few Thunderhammers. They'll help out other units as well. I feel like you probably want a little bit more long-range firepower in this list. But I think it's all going to depend on terrain, Mr. Green Frog. If you go to an event or a tournament or whatever and you have plenty of terrain, then this is a super strong list. If you go to an event with less terrain, then this list could be difficult for you to do well with. I know in the events that I go to, the terrain is a bit lighter, and as such it makes lists like this very difficult to play into certain matchups. I've covered those matchups on the channel. I've shown videos of like how little terrain there sometimes is on some of the tournament maps that I've played on. So I would say, you said you're not competitive. I think for the most part everything about this is good. If you're playing and you feel like there's not enough terrain to hide behind and you're losing, like, basically there should be enough terrain in turn 1 where they can draw line of sight on none of your models. If there's not, then you need more terrain on your table. It then depends on like turn 2, turn 3 or whatnot. Are you losing a lot to shooting? If you are, then I think you need to mix in some shooting. If you feel like you're not, then you're all good. There's not too many more optimizations I would put into this list. You've got 2 durable squads. I've been saying in Arts of Omen, I think you need 3 durable squads and 3 fast-moving squads. That's how I'm playing. In this list, you've got 2 durable squads, be it the Blade Guard, be it the Terminators, and then 4 fast-moving. I think that's totally fine. I guess you could argue the jump units are fast-moving as well, but they're kind of action monkeys, aren't they? You've got the Fight Last, you've got the Impulsor, you've also got Guilliman in there, and Guilliman is kind of the ultimate distraction carnifex for Blood Angels, and if he's left alone, we need a competitive Blood Angels list with 3 Hammerfall bunkers, says Marcus. I'm only liking Blade Guard veterans these days in squads of 3 res. Someone was asking the other night what I would do when I drop Guilliman from my list. I think what I would do is I'd add the Chaplain on a bike with Vox Spiritum, give him probably like Rites of War and Wiserator. So I have like the 9-inch bubble of Leadership 9, like basically what Gilliman's doing. Full melee rerolls if I want it. Full 5-up Feel No Pain against Mortals if I want it. And what would be the other thing? Rites of War within 9, so actually more OBSEC than Guilliman gives. I would make my Blade Guard veteran a 6 and combat squad them. So I would do squads of 2 squads of 3. I think Blood Angels want cheap units that you can put out onto objectives that you don't care about. If you think about like when we're playing against Necrons, like I was just at a tournament against Necrons, they can just throw Scarabs onto every objective. They can do that for like 2 turns. You have to kill them. Like so Blood Angels arguably need something that can just be parked on objectives in turn 1 and 2. And if you don't have something that's durable, that you can't park Sanguinary Guard on objectives anymore. You can't hardly park any troops on objectives anymore. So you're not going to park your characters on objectives. So what the fuck are you parking on them? Well, in my case, I found the 105-point squad of Blade Guard veterans is probably the best thing we've got for parking, because they're effective against 2 wound damage weapons, right? Because 2 need to kill a single guy. They have the 4-up, they have the transhuman, and you can usually deploy it where 1 guy's on the objective and 2 are in cover. So if they shoot the guys in cover, then you're on a 1-up save. So if they're hitting you at -2, you're taking them on the guys in cover on like a 3-up. So yeah, I think I would, if I drop Gilliman, who's 300 points, I would add the Chaplain on a bike, I would add a Bladeguard veteran squad, and then I think I've got 60 points left over. I think I would add a Land Speeder or something like that. I don't think there's anything else I could really add that would make sense in my list. That would give me someone else I could throw away and do like behind enemy lines with. Yeah, so that's it. I don't think I play a list like this myself personally. I think I want a little bit more shooting in my list. It's a tough one. Overall, though, if the terrain is good, then this list is absolutely fine. And I think Gilliman's a lot of fun. If you've not run Gilliman, run him this season, because you're probably not going to get to run him for, like, I think when next season rolls around, there'll be a new Ultramarine Codex. Gilliman's rules will be changed. You won't be able to run him any good. Yeah. Thank you so much, Camille, for the 22 months of membership. Terminators are good like that. Don't get me wrong. I just think the issue is, like, you're probably not going to start Terminators on the board, right? And you can't run them in smaller numbers. But arguably, Terminators are the most... Like, if you've got Terminators in cover and they've got Storm Shields in their Terminator armor, they're on a 0-up save, so arguably they are the most durable unit. I just don't know about if I feel about putting 165-point Terminator squad on an objective, considering how slow they are and they're never going to threaten everything. That's why I think 2 squads of Blade Guard are possibly that ultimate idea, because probably what you want to do is, like, turn 1, you put 1 squad of Blade Guard out, expecting 2 of the models to die. You just need to hold the objective. Turn 2, you put the other squad out, expecting again a couple of models to die, but they're scoring you points, so keeping you in the game. And if you watch any of my games recently, especially the game that we just played against Guard, like in turn 1 and 2, I think I score like 8 points on primary. Like, I just have to hide. I'm too, you know. You look at the firepower that Guard list puts out, like, I just couldn't go onto any objectives. If I went on to any objectives, I instantly lose the units, basically. So yeah, this is a decent list. It's a terrain-dependent list, but it's a decent list. I don't really have any feedback on how you make this list better, Mr. Greenman. I was going to say, I mean, you could compare it to my list. What did I have differently? I had, like, 1 less squad of Sanguinary Guard. It didn't have the Assault Marines. It didn't have the Impulsor. I had a smaller Blade Guard squad. And then I didn't have the Librarian. And then I'm adding something like a Gladiator Reaper or a couple of Ball Predators. I think that was the 2 ways I went. One went like a Reaper and a Terrax. One went a couple of Ball Predators. I must have had something else in the Ball Predator list. Maybe in the Ball Predator list I had the second squad of... I think I had 2 squads of Terminators in that list. So something like that. But I honestly think you should try Gilliman before he goes away, because I mean, every game I'm playing with Gilliman, he always kills shit, and he's just really fun to play. I really hope that one day Blood Angels get a big, strong monster like that. I think in the meantime, we'll just have to end up running Dante, who will be really good, hopefully, and fun. I end up not taking Terminators because I nearly refused to Deep Strike Charge. Well, I mean, I think Deep Strike Charges become a hell of a lot more reliable when you get +2. And then also when you can get a free reroll, and I have both in my list. What unit would you put next to Gilliman to protect him with Lookout Serral? I use the Blade Guard. 3 Blade Guard. It's fine. The second someone's going to shoot at them, I'm probably going to transhuman them, because Gilliman has about 7 CP starting in his list. Is there any data sheet for Dante? No, not yet. As soon as there is, I'll make a video. Alright, Nico's up next. He says, hello sir, I've been thinking about it for a while. Here's my current list for the army submissions. The current plan is to saturate with many turn 2 threats and take the mid board with a small though decent force, assuming they can't screen the entire board of strategic reserve. I mean, they can't, but they can screen a lot. Screen within cursors, send first unit of Thunderhammer Death Company in. Oh, I'm going to read the list first before I read what he's trying to talk to me about. Okay. Chapter Master with a jump pack, Infernal Pistol, and Rites of War. Relic Blade. Death Company Lieutenant. Interesting choice. You don't see this very often. Infernal Pistol, jump pack, Mastercrafted Weapon. Imperium Sword, Thunderhammer. Okay, feels like a very offensive Death Company Lieutenant. And then Priest with Chief Apothecary, Selfless Healer, sort of standard. Yeah, very strange Death Company captain, actually, or lieutenant. We don't see that very often at all. No invulnerable save as well on him is. And I don't know how I feel about paying 2 CP on a combat character with no invulnerable save. I mean, I do. I mean, I just fucking wouldn't do it, I guess. But maybe there's a play here I'm not seeing. We've got Incursors with the Haywire Mine, and then we've got a squad of Tactical Marines. I think this is the first time we've seen someone take Tactical Marines in forever. Infiltrators are just 10 more points. They are so much better than Tactical Marines, I feel like. I guess you get an Infernal Pistol and a Thunderhammer and a Missile Launcher on the Tactical Marines, but none of that sounds that exciting compared to just shoring up your backfield totally great and surviving more with the Infiltrators. You've got Blade Guard with a 5-man. You got 2-5 Death Company Thunderhammers. You've got a 10-man Death Company, all Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. I hate the 10-man Death Company, dude. The Death Company Lieutenant doesn't get any bonuses to like the Death Company's morale, right? Like you can't use the Lieutenant's leadership or anything like that. Am I correct? I'm gonna have to I haven't run a Lieutenant in ages. I think all they give you is a reroll of 1s within 6, right? Yeah, I mean, I hate Death. I didn't like 10-man Death Company before. I hate them even more now that they just die like. Well, here's the thing, Rezio. You run your 10-man Death Company with Astaroth. You make them immune to leadership. These guys have leadership 7. These guys are failing leadership pretty much the second they go in. And plus, I've run the 10-man Death Company before. The Forlorn Fury is too expensive. Like, it's just too expensive. It's 2 CP, it's too expensive. Refusal to Die as well and 2 CP is too expensive. So 10-man Death Company to me make no sense. I wouldn't run them at all. I would switch this into a 5-man Death Company with Infernal Pistol Power Swords and a 5-man Sanguinary Guard with Infernal Pistols and whatever. And I guess you've got to find 20, 30 points to make that happen. You need to make it happen. 3 squads of Death Company to me feels like a Fury of the Lost list, and Fury of the Lost doesn't exist anymore. So for me, I don't know if I like it. Take a heavy bolter in the Tactical Marine for the Hellfire option. I mean, I guess you could. I'm very unlikely to spend 1 CP to do on probably an average 1 mortal wound. Do you think that they will take away Guilliman? It seems like they're purposely closing the gaps between the chapters. They may be purposely closing the gaps between the chapters, Trevor, but I feel highly unlikely that Guilliman will keep his rule that the rule that makes him strong, which is the +1 to charge and advance for Imperium, the reroll all 1s for Imperium, and the reroll morale tests for Imperium. That's not going to stay. It might stay with like core put into it, and then that instantly makes it lose a ton of its value, right? Because the advantage of Guilliman right now is you can reroll on tanks, you can reroll on characters, you can reroll morale tests that can't be rerolled, and you can get +2 to charge again on things that aren't core that probably should be core. So Guilliman may be able to be used with other chapters, but I don't think he's going to be nearly as strong. I think they'll shore up the wording on that for sure. The 10-man Death Company I don't think works without either Astaroth, Lamartez, or I mean, you could, or a chaplain, right? Like it just doesn't work for me. It's just too low leadership. It's too expensive to Forlorn Fury them, and you can't really deep strike them without a way of giving them +2 to charge. So I don't know how you effectively use the 10-man Death Company here. Like there's just no effective way to use them. I guess you do have the Sanguinary Ancient that gives you more movement, which is great, but I still don't see how you're really using this Death Company. You've got Assault Marines, and you've made it 6, which makes me assume it's an Action Monkey squad. You got 2 Ball Predators, which I like, and you've got the Storm Raven. So what? The only play here is that you've got 10 Death Company and started the Storm Raven. Okay, I mean at that point it's madness. It's how do we put this? How do is it, I guess it's just a non-serious list, right? So you screen within cursors, and you send the first unit of Thunderhammers in. You R&D with a tactical squad, and you sticky with home field objective, move everything up. I mean, just bear in mind, infiltrators are going to basically sticky and screen way better than tactical marines. Turn 2, you're going to drop the assault squad in the backline in R&D. You're going to send a second unit of Death Company in. Sure. You're going to drop the Storm Raven with the Death Company on foot and the Smash Lieutenant. And you're going to bring the Brawls in from Strategic Reserve and saturate the board with Blade Guard. I mean, potentially, sure. Turn 3, you're going to try and trade. You exchange CP and units for VP, likely to be able to pick back up the Salt Marines and drop them in turn 4 for last R&D. I mean, you say that. Realistically, against a lot of armies, there isn't the option to bring units in their backfield and score R&D. Quite often, you'll be in a game against, like, there's multiple opponents where you'll play and you'll only ever get 8 from R&D. Weakness I can see is lack of fight first or Overwatch denial. I mean, not having Overwatch denial sucks big time on Blood Angels, and it's one of the reasons that I always end up taking the Whirlwind. You try and keep the ball on the board and cover and charge where possible. I mean, yeah, you can charge with land speeders or the balls or impulsors, and it does help, but I think the balls with the heavy bolters on the twin assault cannon and the storm bolter, I think that's the right way to run the ball. I wouldn't run the ball with the flamers. I think the twin assault cannons and bolters can clean up chaff units just as well as the flamers, and it gives it more range and more versatility. The other options I could drop the Sanguinary Priest Jetpack or Death Company Lieutenant for you'd have Speeder Sanguinary Guard. I think you need to really think, like, so this squad of Death Company cannot engage the enemy before turn 3 anyway, right? Because these guys are in a Storm Raven which arrives in turn 2. So there's no way for them to disembark in turn 2. So they can't engage the enemy to turn 3. Same as Lieutenant can't engage to turn 3. So in that case, I just think you make this a 5-man Death Company. Because they're already in Assault Doctrine. You'll have 25 power swords. You'll have a bunch of Infernal Pistols. And then I think you do add another Sanguinary Guard squad here. I think the Storm Raven, I think it's better with the Plasma Cannon, I think, over the Twin Assault Cannon. I mean, you already got plenty of you already got 2 Twin Assault Cannons. I think you'd be better having a Plasma Cannon here. I think you'd definitely be better having cursors here. I really don't see the value of this Death Company Lieutenant. If you're going to spend 2 CP on a character, I think you need him to be survivable, and like he needs an invulnerable save. This guy's like toughness 4, 4 wounds or some shit. Like he's just, yeah, toughness 4, 4 wounds, and he's 110 points. He's getting killed. He's getting killed super easily. Yes, he's got a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer. He doesn't even have that many attacks though, right? Like 6 attacks. I suppose 6 attacks hitting on 2s is not too bad. He does have a jump pack, so I guess he is he's jumping way the hell out of the Storm Raven. Okay, I mean I don't hate that as much, but the other thing to say about the Storm Raven is I think if you want to if you actually do want to run a Storm Raven and you want the list to be somewhat competitive, I think you need Psychic Fortress. I think you need or Shield of Sanguinius. Like I think you have to hit the Storm Raven with an invulnerable save the turn it arrives, because it's You ever seen that movie? What movie was it? Black Hawk Down. It's like, this thing's a fucking bullet magnet. That's what I feel like the Storm Raven is. The second you put that on the board, it's like 16 wounds, toughness 7. It's got no invulnerable save. It's a bullet magnet. Like it's and if it blows up, how many of those Death Company inside and those whose list is it? This is Nico. Nico doesn't come in chat all that much, but he does put a lot of comments in. Take the jump pack off the lieutenant and put him inside. I mean, he'd be inside anyway. I think he's just got a jump pack on him so he can have more threat range, right? Because you're allowed 12 inside a Storm Raven, so he's got like the 10 Death Company and the thing. I think one of the coolest things about the Storm Raven though is putting like an Ironclad inside it. But I guess we don't see that. Teeth of Terra and a Mastercrafted Lightning Claw on the Death Company Lieutenant, or the Mastercrafted Relic Blade and Teeth of Terra on his Captain is good. I probably would prefer the Teeth of Terra on that Death Company Lieutenant, actually. But then he's doing, he's trying to. Do you need a Death Company Lieutenant with a 4 damage Thunderhammer when you already have 10 Thunderhammers? I mean, maybe technically, yeah, maybe it's not quite enough. Yeah, this isn't a list I would play, I guess. There's a lot of things I don't like. I don't like the Death Company Lieutenant. I would never pay 110 points on a character that has no invulnerable save like this. I think you don't want to leave home at the moment without the infiltrators when there's chaos demons that can deep strike like 5 inches away from you. I already said that I don't like Blade Guard in a 5, so you want to make it a 6 and combat squad it. You could do that if you change this Death Company to a 5. I hate the 10-man Death Company. They suck for leadership. I feel like there's no reason to take the Sangre Ancient unless you're running the Wrath of Baal, right? Like, why do you run the Ancient if you don't have the Wrath of Baal? There's no reason to do that. The reason the Ancient is good is because of the Wrath of Baal. It doesn't have Rights of War in this list. The Storm Raven is kind of a joke. I think if you want to... I know I talked about the Storm Ravens before, saying you could do it, but I think if you want to do it, you have to give it the invulnerable save. Like, you just have to. Because otherwise, I don't think it survives. You put it down in turn 2, it needs to survive to turn 3. If it survives on 1 wound, that's fine, but it needs to survive, and I don't think it survives with all the Melta that's free in the meta without an invulnerable save. And I think even then it's going to be 50-50 if it survives, right? Like, if you take a squad of Eradicators, let's just do this, right? Like a cheap squad of Eradicators. What's a cheap squad of Eradicators? 135 points. So you've got 3 Eradicators. They're going to totally obliterate it. So 2 of them have Melta Rifles. We'll just use the shit ones. They could be Iron Hands, they could be heavy Melta Rifles, but let's just use the shit ones. So you get 4 shots, you're hitting on 3s, you're then wounding on 3s. Actually, sorry, you're hitting on 4s because they're -1 to wound. -1 to hit because the Storm Raven's fast moving. Let me do that again. So it's 4 shots, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s. But then you have no invulnerable save. So those go straight through your armor. 1.32 Melta shots. You are within half range, so they get +2 damage. So you instantly take, you would times that by 5.5. So you instantly take 7.26 wounds. Then you have the one guy with the multi-melta who's also actually just hitting the exact same because he's already -1 to hit because he's moved and shoot. Because he's -1 to shoot a heavy weapon. So basically, 130 point squad of Eradicators with regular Melta Rifles, regular ones. Bear in mind, if it was heavy Melta Rifles, they would do more damage. They wouldn't. The -1 from moving and shooting would actually be negated from the -1 to hit the Storm Raven because it's supersonic or whatever the rule is called, airborne supersonic, I think. So a shitty squad of Eradicators, if you have no save, will do 14.25 damage to a Storm Raven. I think a Storm Raven has 16 wounds, right? So basically, you're telling me that if they have a you're bringing in your Storm Raven in turn 2, they have a squad of Eradicators in strategic reserve. You're almost basically saying you're guaranteed to lose your Storm Raven. Oh, it only has 14 wounds. Oh shit, I thought it was 16. Alright, so the shitty squad, 135 point squad eradicators instantly kill the Stormraven on average. Um, so like, it's a fun idea to bring the Stormraven, but if you're loading it up with stuff, it has to survive that turn. It just has to. If it survives on one wound, it's okay because you can still pay 2 CB to operate it in full profile. You can disembark everything. You can make a bunch of charges, and it could potentially win the game. If they can't kill the Stormraven, it potentially can win you the game. But it's a huge if, and that's why I think you need to give it the Psychic Fortress for sure. And I guess when your Stormraven lands, you want to shoot whatever's going to do the most damage against it, right? What's going to do the most anti-air damage, but it's still going to have the potential to bring in reserves and shoot the shit out of it. Okay. Put the Death Company in a Dreadclaw. Well, I mean, Blood Angels can't take a Dreadclaw, but you can put Death Company in a Terrax or something. If you want to do this, you have to use the Terrax as Mass Profect. I mean, I've been using the Terrax. It's 14 wounds and it's toughness 8. And I've been putting some cheap units inside it, and the Terrax brings a decent amount of firepower. So yeah, it's a different option, but I think it's a good option as well. And obviously the Terrax is 80 points cheaper than the Stormraven. Stormraven has more shooting. Can take a Dreadnought. I just think if you're going to bring a Stormraven, you need to bring the Psychic Fortress. I don't feel quite the same need to bring the Psychic Fortress on the Terrax, even though the Terrax has no invulnerable save. I think it's because it's toughness 8. I think the toughness 8 to me makes me feel like, you know, I just think the toughness 8 makes it. And plus, the Stormraven is like flying way above everything. It's going to be super hard to obscure. The Terrax you can deploy behind a building or something, right? Okay, so there's a lot I don't like about this list, Nico. By all means, play it, but it's not something that I think I could get on board with. It's just there's too many things that I've played there that don't make sense. I think what I would be saying is like get some Sanguinary Guard in there. If you're not going to run Wrath of Baal, then there's no point running the Ancient. The Blade Guard would probably be better in a squad of 3. The tactical squads would definitely be eclipsed by Infiltrators. The Death Company Lieutenant seems like a very strange choice. The only reason I think you have the if it's because you could run a Death Company Captain here, and the Captain is better in just about every way. Because he is an invulnerable save, he has more attacks, he maybe a few points more expensive, but the interesting thing, if you think about it this way, is the Captain gives you reroll to hits, the Lieutenant gives you reroll to wounds. Arguably, if you're trying to use this Death Company Captain to give reroll hits or to give reroll wounds, reroll hits is going to have more value, because reroll wounds comes further down. So if you make a bunch of ones on the hits, doesn't matter, you can reroll the wounds. You already made a bunch of ones on the hits. So my thought is change that, and maybe if you're desperate to still run, the list as is, would Lamartis? How many points is Lamartis? I mean, Lamartis is generally a good character. Like, I like Lamartis. I think he's like 120 now. Yeah. If you compare him to the Lieutenant, I mean, he's letting your Death Company reroll their charges. He's letting them use your Leadership 9. He's basically being able to. You could pay the CP and you could automatically cast like Canticle of Hate or Litany of Hate or something when they come out of the Stormraven. Yes, he doesn't quite do the same damage as your Thunderhammer guy. But I think giving your Death Company Leadership 9, if you're dead set on running the squad of 10, is going to be more valuable for sure. Okay, next list, I think. Rerolling ones to hit or wound is identical. Is it? DTM in the fact that they get rolled in sequence? Surely not. Surely there's more value on rerolling wound on hits than there is rerolling wounds, right? Because if you make a bunch of duff hits, then you wouldn't be able to reroll the wounds because you already duffed the hits. I actually don't know how you calculate that, but it seems to me like it would logistically make more sense that maybe I'm just justifying why I hate the lieutenant more. All right, we're looking at Phil Araggio's list next. How many likes did we get in the stream? Did we get a few? We got 28 likes, 55 people watching, so a few more people still need to hit the like button. I would appreciate that. Okay, what else did I miss? I also heard hits and wounds are the same, but I've not looked at it, says Benno. Okay, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like statistically, if you have to roll 10 dice and you re-roll the ones to hit, that would be more valuable than to re-roll the ones to wound, because surely if you make a... Maybe statistically it's just like you would just duff as many, though. But I guess re-rolling ones to hit means at least you don't completely fuck your wound roll, right? Or your hit roll, sorry. Whereas, like, let's say you had 10 dice and you roll 7 ones, then re-roll to wounds is going to not make all that much difference, right? Because you already fucked it on the hits. James says re-rolling hits always has you rolling more dice. That's how I feel. But I guess maybe statistically it's the same. Who knows? Someone will explain it to me. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I actually genuinely I just bought a Terrax like a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago. I think I've played it like 7 games, 8 games now, and I really like the Terrax. I'm going to keep running it. I have a Storm Raven as well. I think it's the Terrax to me feels more survivable, less points, and obviously the Terrax in my list, the Terrax gets a lot of value because it's really good in combat, which the Storm Raven I guess doesn't have. Storm Raven has a good amount of shooting, but I don't see the Storm Raven as a shooting platform because I don't think it survives. Like the Terrax comes in, it shoots. The Terrax is charging as well, and because it's an assault vehicle, the troops are already out of it. So for me, it doesn't really matter if the Terrax survives, right? If anything, maybe the Terrax is just going to eat the Overwatch. You know, if they want to Overwatch a toughness 8, 14 wound Terrax, then go for it. I mean, I don't think they'll kill it, and then all my other units will be able to charge in, and I think the Terrax is kind of useful. Whereas I think the Storm Raven, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Storm Raven. I think you could maybe do it with Psychic Fortress, but I don't know. All right, final list for today. Phil Araggio. We are looking at 1671 point list, so there must be something. Oh, cool! It's a Gilliman list. All right, cool. We got another Gilliman list. Let's see what we got. We've got Primaris Chaplain with Catechism of Fire and Exoration of Rage. We've got him as the Master of Sanctity, and he's got Rites of War, and he's also got the Visage of Death. Interesting. He's loaded up with stuff. We got Librarian with Veil of Time, Might of Heroes, and Null Zone, and Quake Bolts, and then we've got Sanguinary Priest with Selfless Healer, no jump pack, notably, and Armor Indomitus. We got 7 Assault Intercessors, and we got 2 squads of Infiltrators. I feel like you don't. I mean. Oh, hold on one sec. Right, sorry, I was going to say, if you have um, if you have Rights of War, I feel like you don't need 3 troop units, especially not assault intercessors. I I generally don't rate assault intercessors when you can get like death. You get 5 death company with 5 infernal pistols and 5 power swords and jump packs for 115 points. You get 7 assault intercessors with chain swords on the sergeant with a thunderhammer for 136. I feel like those death company always outdamage the assault intercessors, and they're 20 points cheaper and they're much more fast. I guess they can't do actions, but that's just my opinion. When do you declare Overwatch? Does it have to be the first time someone declares a charge against you, or you can decide to fire Overwatch after the opponent has failed a charge? You can, Peter, but that's super risky. So whenever you're charged, you can declare Overwatch, but the second something ends, the second something successful charges you, you're not going to be able to do any more Overwatch. So people will use, if you run an impulsor, for example, and you've got Blade Guard inside of it, what you would do is you would charge the enemy with the impulsor first, and if you can position the impulsor where it's unlikely that you'll fail the charge, then they have the choice of like, oh well, if I don't overwatch the impulsor, I don't get to overwatch at all, because once the impulsor makes its charge, then the blade guard will be able to charge without having any of the risk of overwatch. There is some janky shit that comes in there, where if you have a character that has Lookout Sir, you can potentially make the charge with a character, and then they can't overwatch against the character because he's got Lookout Sir. Whenever that comes up, it gets real messy, but there is some jank there that you can do that. I think I've discussed that with people before, and it's pretty horrible. And I actually still don't even know what the rule is, but I think if the character is protected via Lookout Sir and he declares a charge, I don't think some people won't let you declare Overwatch against him. So yeah, 2 infiltrator squads. You then have Death Company with Infernal Pistols and Power Swords and 4 hammers. You then have 10 Terminators, 6 Thunderhammer Storm Shield, Sergeant Thunderhammer Storm Shield, 3 Assault Terminator Double Lightning Claw. You get 10 more Terminators. Okay, damn. So you've got 15 Terminators, sorry, 20 Terminators potentially, with combat squads. If you're not using all your elite choices here, which you're not, then I would have these as individual units. I don't think there's any advantage to have the Terminators in blocks of 10 over blocks of 5. Is there any advantage to having Terminators in blocks of 10 over blocks of 5? If you've literally got the space for them in the elites? I can't see it. 2 Ball Predators and then Gilliman. Okay, it's a very interesting list. Even if you split these 2 guys up, you still could have that second squad of Death Company with 5 Infernal Pistols, Power Swords. So I think I would change that to begin with. The Gladiator kit is multi-purpose. It is indeed. You can actually make all versions of the Gladiators with the use of some magnets. I'm going to disagree with you. Depends on the goal of the list. You might be trying to spread OBSEC in a bunch of places. Sure, I mean, I guess you could be trying to spread OBSEC in a bunch of places. Rez, the way I see it is you'll use the 2 squads of infiltrators to hold 2 objectives on your side of the map, and then you use your captain with the OBSEC aura to probably contest 1 or 2 objectives, depends on placement. So, yeah, I maybe you put those assault intercessors in reserve, and you're just going to bring them in and try and make a charge and try and do some odd shit shenanigans. There is something to be said. I mean, it's 8 bodies. You just want to make the charge in from strategic reserve, and you just hopefully contest an objective. I guess you could talk about that. A block of 10 is efficient for Fury the First, and if you're doing resurrections. I guess, okay, there's a reason behind the blocks of 10. I think that personally I would just run them as 5s though. But yeah, I guess the problem I think with the block of 10 is they could be bogged down, I guess. Terminators can get bogged down, they're already slow. Moving 10 Terminators around sounds laborious, sounds difficult. It's bad enough trying to get 5 Terminators from one objective to another one. If you've got 10, unless you're going to daisy chain them across 2 objectives, which I can't see happening. Plus, Terminator's leadership 9 means that they're very unlikely to fail leadership if they're in 5s, whereas in like 10, they could definitely fail leadership, right? Okay, I mean, Gilliman is cool with Terminators because I feel like a 7-inch charge is statistically a lot more viable than an 8-inch charge from reserve. While Predators work well with Gilliman, I've tested that. You've got shooting Terminators, they would obviously work well with Gilliman. Your characters are bringing some cool auras. You've got Null Zone in there. Null Zone might actually be quite hard to use in this list because you've got so many Terminators, and obviously Null Zone will affect your own Terminators. I feel like Null Zone is probably better with like the Death Company, which is again a reason I might swap out this squad for another squad of Death Company. I generally don't like having no Sangre Guard as well because I think the Heroic Intervention aura of Sangre Guard is arguably one of the best things we have. It's good to know that 5 Sangre Guard literally cost the same as 5 Terminators. So you could run just 15 Terminators and get 5 Sangre Guard in there. I also did say like 3 durable units, 3 fast moving units was the way I would be playing Blood Angels at the moment. So if you did drop 5 Terminators and bring in 5 Sangguard, and you did drop this Assault Intercessors and bring in 5 Death Company, then you'd have the 3 and 3, which is what I think is strong, but I mean, that's just my opinion. Interesting to see a Priest without the jump pack. I guess if he's with Terminators, that's fine because they're slow as shit. Quake Bolts is cool with that many Thunderhammers for sure. And then catches on fire to buff some of the shooting from the Terminators as well. Yeah, I mean, overall, it looks interesting. It's got a bit of a mix of shooting, no fight last, no Overwatch denial, which is what I struggled with when I played this list, right? I think I played this list into Iron Hands. Yeah, I think that was it. And I took really heavy. Like, Iron Hands have a way of overwatching on 4s, and they're re-rolling 1s because of their stupid. Because they're Iron Hands, I guess. So when you get overwatched on 4s and you get to re-roll 1s by like a Devastator squad with multi-meltas, then like have fun charging that because. I mean, what's the statistic probability of that, right? Like they got 4 multi-meltas, so that's 8 shots, and their hit chance is it would be 58.3%. So like if you charge them, they're gonna hit with 4.5 multi-meltas. So I mean that's the average. So if that swings high, they're maybe hitting you with 6 multi-meltas. Yeah, it can swing low as well, I suppose. If they ever put full rerolls on a squad from a chapter master, then god damn it, you're getting hit by, charge a Gladiator Reaper with that, and you're getting about 40, or maybe not 40. You're probably getting like 30. You're probably gonna have to make like 30 saves or something. You can combat squad the Terminators. That's what I was saying, and I think I would do that. But I mean, the thing about combat squadding them is you don't get a sergeant in the second squad, right? And I think that if you've got the space, I would just run them as 5 Terminators. If you want to play like this, you're better off as Dark Angel, says Mass Prophet. Potentially, yeah. I think I still think Death Company and Sangre Guard are arguably like the best units that Blood Angels have. I don't think they're good enough now to just be like, yeah, that's all we should run. Deathwatch are going to get a nerf. Yeah, there's going to be a balance slate in like 2 or 3 weeks' time, aren't they? They're going to bring down hopefully the 59% Deathwatch Dark Angels. I don't think that's necessarily all I would run, like Death Company and Sangre Guard. In fact, I don't. I mean, I run 2 Death Company and 1 Sangguard, but I think they're good enough to include. And I like Terminators. I like Terminators more than most people, right? Like I ran to in 9th edition. I've ran shooting Terminators to GT. I've ran melee Terminators, I think, to A GT. I think I've run melee Terminators, in fact, to two GTs. Yeah. I've run them to two GTs. So yeah, I've run Terminators to three G or three, maybe one of them. No, they were all GTs. Yeah, I've run Terminators to three GTs in the last like 3 years. So I run more Terminators than most, but I don't think I would run three squads, or definitely not four squads. I think speed is Blood Angel's strongest suit. So by not having the speed, you give up quite a lot. But I mean, if you're running a Guilliman list, you're kind of running a list to have fun. Guilliman with Bile Predators is fun. I'll give you that. Guilliman. But I think you want things that can benefit a lot from Guilliman. And I think Infernal Pistols and Death Company will also benefit a lot from him. And I think you want some of that speed still in the list. I think, yeah, like maybe 20 Terminators is just a step too far, in my opinion. I take aggressors over Terminators, but I like the multiple phase output over defense. Yeah, I actually had a combat in my last GT, Benno, where I got a squad of Terminators charged by 6 Space Wolf aggressors, and I lost 3 Terminators. Then the 2 Terminators left basically killed 5 aggressors. So I was actually I actually felt like the Terminators were quite a bit better, actually, because 6 aggressors would cost more points than the Terminators. And basically, after the combat, it was 2 aggressors left versus 2 Terminators. I felt like it came off pretty well. If I'd been able to interrupt there, the aggressors would have got slaughtered. And the aggressors actually did shoot the Terminators, but obviously the Terminators just save on 2s against aggressors. So maybe they actually killed one in melt. Maybe they killed one in shooting. Or maybe they just took a couple of wounds in shooting. 6 aggressors got a lot of shots, right? It was like 6 bolters per guy, so that's 36. Then it was like 66. So yeah, it was like 50 shots they get. Maybe even close to 60. I don't know. But you're only losing wounds on ones. You're saving it. They got no AP, and even if they had 1 point of AP, you'd still be saving on 2s. I'm not sure they'll nerf Dark Angels enough. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to remember is like the balanced data slates, while they've been better this season, they've struggled in the last few balanced data slates to make meaningful changes to things, right? Like they were trying to balance Marines, and they basically like fucked a few of the factions completely, and then threw like Iron Hands and Dark Angels like massively more powerful. So it's like they're not they've not got good track over these last couple of balance slates, I feel like. I wonder what they're going to do with Dante's points. Like, is he going to get... We're going to get Dante, the new model, at 165 points, or are they going to make him more expensive? Because they're going to make him more expensive when Dante's going to be difficult to field. Tell that to Tyrannid players. I mean, Tyrannid players are still well above 50%, right? And they have been this whole edition. That's the thing that pisses me off, is like, Blood Angels haven't been 50% once this edition, as far as I'm aware. Not once. And you've got armies that have been well higher than it for the whole 3-year period. That just irritates me. Like, we just have to sit here and be like, well, we're just on a low end for the whole. Tyranids aren't below 50, are they? Have they finally dropped below 50? You're lying to me. Where is it? The most recent meta watch. This one? 16th of February? Tyranids, they haven't dropped below 50. They're still 50. Oh. The ranges should be smaller, Andrew. Couldn't agree more. The Goldilocks zone should be 48 to 52. I agree. And I also hate how they just ignore any of these. Like, they're gonna tackle the top ones. They're gonna tackle the bottom ones, but they just ignore the 55 ones and the 45 ones. It's like they're fine. Like, I don't like how they're doing it. I think that they could do better. But I mean, maybe I'm just moany. You're always going to moan about your own faction, right? I've charged an Iron Hands Repulsor with 7 Sangre Guard and they've all been dusted. Yes, Iron Hands are disgusting with Overwatch. That's why I ended up running the Whirlwind to the event, even if I didn't like it. Even if I didn't really want to run the Whirlwind, I feel like being able to turn off Overwatch for Blood Angels is super important. Okay. That's us then. Like I said, we don't have too many submissions, so if you want to submit a list for next week, please do that. Or maybe for a future week. But yeah, I guess Arts of Omen has people running all sorts of crazy shit, and maybe people aren't taking it quite as seriously. I know I am taking it quite as seriously. Adepticon is next weekend, so maybe by the stream next weekend, we'll know. I was gonna say maybe by the stream next weekend we'll know some more stuff that's coming. I don't think Strike Force Augustus has overly helped Blood Angels. Thoughts on a Thunderfire cannon? Don't run one. I mean, yeah, don't run one. Like what? The only thing it's got is got a stratagem that can make non-flying models move slower. I think it half the movement speed for non-flying models. You've made so many people run Bobby G this week. What was it? 2 lists at Bobby G, or was it more? I don't think we'll see Sangreguard really ever get a. I feel like Sangreguard could like an invulnerable save, but I don't think it'll ever be better than a 5-up. Thoughts on suppressors? I think they don't do damage really that much, in my opinion. I've run them a few times. I don't feel like they do much damage. They're good against like Tau or other armies that will have a lot of infantry Overwatch. The thing is, if you want to cancel Overwatch, you kind of need the unit that can just cancel it into any army. So you need the Whirlwind. So then I don't think you can field suppressors on a Whirlwind. Tremor Shells. The Thunderfire Cannon can make an enemy subtract 1 from the wound roll. And you can basically have their movement character and subtract 2 from their advance and charge. I think it's very situational. And I mean, I don't think it has any sort of output, does it? It's going to have 8 strength 4 shots that are indirect. I mean, it just sounds terrible. Strength 4 shots in general are kind of terrible, so the fact it's indirect just makes it more terrible. I don't know. I don't think Thunder Cannon Fire 120 points, is that how much they cost? Holy shit, I thought they cost about 60 and I was going to say they're useless at 60 points. 120 points, that just needs to go straight into the bin. It's a dumpster. If we did a tier list, it would be not even on the list. It would just be an absolute dumpster. Do you still take 3 HQ in a list with Gilliman? Chapter Master rerolls are good for turn 1 Alpha Strike, but that's a lot of points in buffing characters. I'm running Gilliman plus 2. I'm running a Chapter Master, a Tech Marine, and Gilliman. And I think that the same thing applies. Like, 3 characters with Gilliman, if you keep the cost of the characters down, you could probably run 3, but I think Gilliman plus 2 is probably optimal. I own a few Thunderfire cannons. I also there used to be another one. What was it called? The Rapier Array. Back when everybody ran 3 Thunder cannons and like 3 Rapier carriers. I own a bunch of Rapier carriers as well, and they're also completely crap now. I didn't load the Rapier cannon, did it? Or did it? No, the Rapier cannon, because they basically have a quad launcher, which is the exact same profile. And these used to be like, I think these used to be strength 5 -1 or something. Like, they were way better. His points are terrible. Yeah, I mean, against some army, there's maybe like an edge play that you could do with Thunderfire Cannon, but I think generally just never take them. The Fire Strike Servo Turret in reserve, possibly. I have a Fire Strike Servo Turret that I made with las guns. The reason I don't run it is I hate D6 damage. But I mean, I guess it's kind of just like a slightly more expensive attack bike. A little bit more firepower, but like no maneuverability, but maybe you don't care. You're just gonna, like you said, 12 las cannons hitting on 2s and just you feel like that's enough to get. I mean, if you've got 12 las cannons hitting on 2s, so you get maybe 10 hits and your strength 9, so realistically the worst you can wound on is probably 3s. So maybe that's enough to. Maybe that's enough shots to compensate for the shitty D6 damage. I keep saying that if las cannons were just flat 3 damage, I honestly think I would run them more often than the fact that they're D6 damage. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, if you think about D6 being 3.5 is the average, because you range from 1 to 6, I still think flat 3 on las cannons would be better than D6. Desolation Marines are D3 plus 3, and some of them hit on 2s. Yeah, I did do a video on Friday about Desolation Marines, but I don't think they're that strong. I think they're okay. I think if I was going to run... If I want D3 plus 3 in my list, I think I run a Vindicator Laser Destroyer. Someone mentioned to me in something I completely forgot, maybe it was Juan there in chat, someone said Desolation Marines can Auspex scan. And I was like, oh yeah, shit, I forgot about that. So maybe if the enemy does deploy within 12 inches of the Desolation Marines and you can fire 5 super crack missiles and all that indirect fire, then maybe that's actually not so bad. I just think it's kind of a big gotcha, right? Like, what, you're going to let the opponent put all their models down and then go, aha, you put them all within 12 inches of my Desolation Marines, and because no one ever expects Marines to do Auspex scan, because especially Blood Angels, no one ever does it. I think at the beginning of the edition there was a bunch of times where I Auspex scan on Sangre Guard and then realized like I barely ever kill anything with Auspex scan, so I really don't use it. But that's maybe something I completely forgot about it in my video, honestly, this week when we talked about Desolation Marines, because I never use it because it's always underperformed for me. I tried to get Henry Gavel to play me Mass Profect. I tried. I made a video. I put my kilt on. I went to a castle and filmed the video, and he didn't reply. So, I mean, I tried. All right. I hope you guys have a great Sunday evening. I am going to take off. There'll be an Army List show next week. I think we're going to announce the painting competition this week. And I think I might play Tempest of War for the first time ever this week on the channel. So we might have a Tempest of War game on Wednesday. So I guess that shows how serious that I am. Well, I already said I'm not allowed to go to tournaments for a while. My wife, we've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they're so much hard work. So for the next 6 months, basically, I'm not going to. I think the next tournament I'm going to is in November, so I'm probably not going to get to go to another tournament in the Arcs of Omen season, which is a little sad because I actually really like the list I have that runs Guilliman. If we get some releases about Blood Angels and Dante and the rules, I'll make a video on that. What I'd love though is if anyone has not hit the Facebook page up, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on the actual Facebook page, right? Which is like Blood Angels, facebook.com/Blood Angels Commander. It's like, this is the link. I'll put it in chat. If anyone hasn't hit me with a like on Facebook, please consider doing that. I would super appreciate it. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thank you so much for always being here every Sunday night. It is appreciated, and I'll see. I'm sure I'll see you guys this week in the comments. And if anyone has a list that they want reviewed in next week's show, please put it down. Have you heard about the new Blood Angels Omnibus coming out? I have not. I bought the last one that didn't come out too long ago, and I also bought the 2 comics, the visual novels, the Blade of. Oh, what the hell is it called? It's just over here. can't see it, but I bought the two visual novels. I didn't know there was another omnibus. I used to do a lot of reading when I travelled for work, and we haven't been travelling for work because of get a new picture. It's more inviting, no mask. Yeah, I could put up a new picture. All right, I'll put up a new picture tonight of me with my tournament, my best sportsman prize, because I'm a cool person to play against. I'll do that right after the stream, okay? But yeah, all right. Enjoy your evening, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. New videos, as always, coming this week. And maybe it'll be Tempest of War, which should be fun. Last question then. Juan says, I'm new here. I've got a quick question. I'm about to buy my first Marines. Are Blood Angels worth it? Blood Angels are the best chapter of all the Marines. We've just had a very sexy new chapter master picture released. So, like, he's coming. Our Lord and Savior, Commander Dante. Let me see if I've got a picture of him. I do have a picture. Look at this sexy boy. Look how cool he is. Basically, we just got the newest Marine released. Blood Angels. Oh, because our win rate is low? Yeah, I mean, our win rate is low, but that shit goes. It fluctuates high and low, right? And if anyone watches the channel, you'll know that I am not the best player. I forget shit basically all the time. Like, I don't think I've ever gone to a tournament where I haven't forgotten something. And this season, in fact, I actually beat the best player in the whole of Scotland with a quirky Blood Angels list. That probably, like, by all accounts, probably shouldn't have beaten hardly anyone. So I think that I almost won 2 tournaments this season as well. I came third, and then I got to the top table twice. So I think, win rates aside, yes, everyone likes to bitch about win rates. Does that stop you winning events? 100% not. If you're a good player and you focus on a list and you learn the ins and outs of your faction, it does not affect you winning tournaments or not. I wouldn't let those win rates affect what you're going to buy. If you like Blood Angels, buy Blood Angels. Those win rates will be different next season. They'll be different the year after that. They'll be different the year after that. What's good now does not make it good in the future. That's 100%. Hope that answers the question. If it doesn't answer the question, I mean, join our Facebook group and ask the same question. We've got like shitloads of people in the groups. Our groups in our Discord are in the video descriptions as well. Yes. All right. And do you know what? I'm the first person to bitch about win rate, but I'm still going to take my Blood Angels to the tournament, and I'm still going to fight tooth and nail, and I'm probably going to get a good result and possibly win. You know. All right. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.